Views and opinions expressed in this production are those of the individual and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Shooters Nation or our sponsors. Information provided on this show is not a replacement for legal counsel or professional training. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows.
Welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast, the talk show for you, the armed citizen. Join us as we discuss guns and gear, training, mindset and knowledge, industry news and buzz, and of course, the firearms culture. Be sure to join us after the show at shootersnation.com and become part of the Shooters Nation.
Hey folks, welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast. I'm your host, David Yancey, and once again, co-hosting with me today is Mark Lancaster of Squared Away Customs in New Hampshire. How's it going, Mark?
It's going good. I'm ready for the 3-day weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's right. By the time the folks listen to this, it will have come and gone, but man, I think every weekend ought to be a 3-day weekend, to be honest with you, or 4 or 5. I don't know. What's acceptable?
We have a camp up in... So we're in central New Hampshire on the border of Vermont. We have a camp way up at the very northern tip of New Hampshire on the border of Canada and Vermont. And it's an off-grid cabin that's all propane lights, propane stove, propane refrigerator, and then a wood burning stove for heat. And it's pretty awesome to go up there and just detach. There's no cell phone service. It's a very good disconnected, literally off-grid program up there. So it's opening weekend up there because the snow just barely cleared the roads.
No kidding.
Yeah, because it's a Class 6 road, so it's non-maintained. So the only way to get in there in the wintertime is by a snow machine.
Oh, wow. Family like going up there and hanging out?
The whole family goes. Yep, mom, dad, sister, my 2 nieces, my brother-in-law, then me, my wife, my daughter, and my son. Yeah,
awesome.
It'll be my son's first trip up, though.
So. Oh, that's cool. I bet that'll be fun. A lot of good pictures of firsts and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, no, we don't have anything like that. I mean, I think this weekend probably will be firing up the smoker and throwing some barbecue on and smoking that. My brother has a wedding coming up in a little bit over a week now, and we thought that we would smoke some barbecue, shred it, freeze it, take it down in a cooler so that we don't all have to go out and eat, every night in a restaurant. But I'll be heading down to Florida, the exact opposite of a snowed in location. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I think the best part of going to Florida is just the beach, a cooler, and a lawn chair in the sand. So
Florida.
Yeah. So that's all right. I mean, I think that it's a good opportunity to brush up on some of my traveling with arms and things like that, making sure that I know all the gun laws of the states I'm passing through. And fortunately, I believe the route that we're going to take is just basically Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, and they're all fairly friendly to concealed carry and such, so I don't have to worry about that.
The whole southeastern region's pretty good, isn't it? Was it South Carolina that's an issue?
Yeah. I think you're right. The Southeast is pretty agreeable to that kind of thing. South Carolina has got some kind of wonky laws, in my opinion, about just guns in general. But it's certainly not as bad as it could be. And, we've got it pretty good down here. Unlike you, I know you've said before that when you travel around, you're surrounded by states that don't permit it. So that
I'm kind of landlocked here in the Northeast. So we're good in New York. We're good in Maine. We're good in Vermont. We're good in New Hampshire.
Oh,
then to the south of us is Massachusetts, Connecticut, which are both no-goes. Immediately to the west of us is New York, which is a no-go. And immediately to the east of us is the Atlantic Ocean. So, you're
it's you are kind of landlocked, but I mean, I think the thing that the irony of that is you're talking about the cradle of our country, And if anybody should remember why we have the Second Amendment, it should be the states that you just mentioned. It's like the last time that somebody tried to confiscate, mass scale confiscation of weapons on this country's soil was up there. And that kind of, we got into a fight after that. And we started dropping the letter U from words like color, So, wow. Yeah. I don't know. Is that irony lost on people up there that you've encountered or what?
I don't, it's frustrating. And it really doesn't come up in conversation because the people that are in mass, which is the people that I see and I spend more time with than any, are just like, yep, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like they just know it and there's no way around it. And
right.
Like, and Massachusetts does offer an out-of-state permit, but it's something like a 1,500 word essay and $100 a year, and you have to take a class.
No kidding.
And it's not a guaranteed if you do everything, even if your background check is good, that they're going to give it to you. It's on a case-by-case basis, and they have the right to refusal.
Oh, wow. Is it a non-refundable $1,500, or is that...
No, 1,500 word essay.
Oh, 1,500 word essay?
Essay, yep. And then... there's something you need a lawyer for too. There was something, I forget the details. I read that.
Driving through the state probably requires a lawyer.
I am not giving the Commonwealth of Afghanistan my money for this.
Yeah, no, I mean, wow. 1,500 words. I wonder how many times I could copy the Constitution into that 1,500 words and just submit that.
Right.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't approve that either, but it'd be
I sure wouldn't.
If I got my money back, it'd be okay. But
man, and they're bad because like apparently even like ammunition in your vehicle is felony.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. Like a spent casing, I've heard of people getting hemmed up on.
I just recently got rid of one vehicle and bought another, and I was pretty thorough, I felt like, in cleaning out the one that I was trading in. And I mean, can you imagine if I'd accidentally left a casing in there and somebody drove through a state like that, got pulled over, and next thing you know, they're spread eagle on the ground with a state trooper standing over them because of a bullet casing that I left in the truck.
Right.
Sorry. Carfax.
Carfax. I was going to say the Carfax is going to love that one.
That's right. Wow, that is just terrible. I mean, I'm laughing at it, but I mean, that's tragic. I feel bad for those people. They should move. Everybody up there should move and just leave a lot of empty land for, I don't know.
I bet those 9mm valve stem covers don't sell well there either.
I bet they don't. Or the bullets you put, the solid steel bullets that you put in your freezer, then you drop them in your whiskey, the whiskey bullets or whatever they are. Yeah. Yeah, I've got some of those too. I saw that some firearms community celebrity, I forget who it was, but they went to the NRA show. Oh, I think it was Dana Lash, that she went to the NRA show and somebody brought her the whiskey bullets that she couldn't fly back with from SHOT Show. Like they were confiscated by the TSA, who then probably went and put it in their whiskey in the TSA lounge or something. I mean, it's what I assume that the TSA does when they take your stuff. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Okay. Well, anything new?
We went on a tangent within 30 seconds of starting the podcast.
We did. Yeah, that's why it's fun. I mean, if you tune in and you're expecting anything other than that, guess what? You're probably gonna be a little bit disappointed. Oh, well, it's been a long day. I guess anything new going on this week? I tell you, the show that we did with William the SEAL about school safety is still really on my mind, which is not surprising, but I think I'm just maybe a little shocked at how new things keep occurring to me as I think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I really understand that it's not on any of the listeners' mind yet as recording already, but we haven't even aired that one yet.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that if anybody really takes the time to listen and they really take the time to put the mind fuel to work on this one.
Yep.
I think, it's one that's going to stick with you and you're going to be thinking about it. I know every day I drop my daughter off to school this week. That's all I could think about. And it's not like I'm paranoid. It's just thinking about it, looking at different things and like, maybe this is why this is this way. Maybe that's why this is happening.
Yeah.
And I also talked to some other people that I know that are kind of in the industry. And a guy I know works for Stanley Security.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a Stanley tool company, but apparently they have a very techie security company under the umbrella.
They sure do. Yeah. They do like commercial installations of alarm systems and things like that.
So this guy specializes in school stuff.
Awesome.
And he does it in some city areas, in I think Massachusetts, Connecticut, mostly New England cities, not good cities like inner city stuff. And they even have security systems, and this blew my mind. So when a vehicle approaches, there's cameras scanning license plates as the vehicles enter the parking lots.
Very smart.
And if there is a flagged vehicle for child abuse, like the family watchdog, like a child predator, or somebody with like some sort of
it's like a restraining order or something like
a
that.
Restraining order or something like that.
Yeah.
It texts the teachers immediately on their holding.
Now that's cool. I wasn't expecting that. That's cool.
It says, code yellow or code orange, whatever it is, like XYZ just entered the property.
Oh, wow.
And depending on how they set it up, they can even have it go like, depending on what the person is wanted for, so on and so forth. It can bring the school right into lockdown, like magnets released, doors closed and locked. Like,
that's awesome.
It's a super in-depth security system. And I was just, man, that's fantastic. Like, you don't hear about this on the news. And it's just that's one more dang thing that the narrative doesn't get into.
Right.
And it's like, I wish we could talk about something that is actually going to make a difference. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's cool. My day job, we rely on automation a lot, and anything that you can automate, generally you do it because it's well, in this case, it would be more vigilant than a person. Because if you put a person there and say, okay, I want you to watch every license plate that comes through this parking lot, they're going to zone out. They're going to start thinking about the ball game or what they're doing this weekend or whatever. And they're going to miss something. It does it a lot quicker. It can, I guess it's using some sort of character recognition on the license plate, and then it runs it against a database, and it says, hey, this is David, and he's wanted for,
100-yard driveway. It spits out the text message before the vehicle pulls up.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's really cool. You want to see stuff like that happening. You want to see technology being used to make things better and safer. And that is that makes way more sense than let's go ban all the guns. It just, let's do something preventative.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? I'm looking in for my notes from William, assess, plan, and train. And then each of those three categories, he broke into three subcategories: people, processes, and technology. And so that's pretty cool. I've been thinking about that this week too. It's funny. I was making a list, like an action items list at work. And, I had like 4 or 5 things on that bulleted list. And I thought, I wonder if I can condense this down into 3s, because there was something about that William was talking about. He likes to work in 3s.
Stick. Yep.
Yeah. 3s do stick. And so, I don't know. Like I said, there's been a lot that has just stayed with me since that episode, and it'll release this weekend for the folks. I'll be honest. I snuck a copy of it to a coworker who also knows William, and I'm like, hey man, listen to this and tell me what you think. And I know that he made it at least halfway through it. And it was a lengthy episode, and I told him, I said, look, dude, this is long. This thing ran almost 2 hours. And, by the time that I cut out some of the just the superfluous stuff and stitched it together as a podcast, I think it came in at 1 hour and 56 minutes, which was surprising. I thought it was going to be over 2 hours, but I really hope people take the time to listen to that. And if they are listening to this because this looked like a shorter episode and they skipped the big 2-hour monster before it, you've really got to go back and go listen to it. Yeah, that was one of the. I think I still had like quite like it was 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and as we said multiple times in the episode, being respectful of his time. Right, man, I still had questions, and it's like I wanted to ask him, but I was just like, but I next time. Yeah, but like one that I had, and I don't know the answer to this.
but given his role, he certainly would. And I guess I'm not really looking for an answer here, but maybe just we can bounce it around a little bit. Is it appropriate as a parent of a student in the school to ask the school what their protocols and their plans are?
I would think so, right? I mean, I've got kids. I would ask.
Yes, but not all the parents are good, right?
That's true.
Not all the parents are good. Not all that information should be privy, right? Because part of it is like, okay, well, they're all taught to hide here.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't want that information getting out.
No. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I see what you mean. Right.
So I don't necessarily know what the answer is. Like, part of me says, no, I don't want you telling anybody, but I want you to tell me, right? So that's not fair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to wear your shirt that says, I'm a good guy across it or something, you know, that way they know. Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess so. There's a difference between disclosure and full disclosure as I think about that if I went to the administration of my kid's school and said, hey, look, these school shootings are really worrying me. I'd just like to know, do you have a plan and how good is it? And could you tell me some of the basics of what you're teaching the kids so that I can start to reinforce that at home? I would hope that they would have some sort of a brief prepared that they could walk me through it. But I don't necessarily expect them to tell me, well, sure, here from A to Z is exactly how we do this, because then they're giving the secret formula. And I don't want that for the reason that you said. It's a good question. I don't know. I think I would be the annoying parent too that was like, no, I really want to know more. You can tell me because I got my good guy shirt.
And I want to see the hiding spots. I want to know.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I'm at. Like I don't trust many people, especially with my kid. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Well, what was it William said? He said that occasionally he would go and stand in the traffic line and open carry. So he was probably wearing, I don't know, I don't remember if he said specifically if he was wearing a shirt that designated him as a member or the head of the safety team, or maybe just all the parents know who he is and know, oh, that's William, he's head of the safety and security team here. But he would open carry just to be visible. And I think that the contrast was implied. I don't normally do that because there's an advantage for the element of surprise. But occasionally he would come out from the dark, so to say, and here's my gun. Be aware that there's armed security here. That's a good flag. Thing. Yeah. That's a good question. The good thing is William said he would come back, and I'm making a list of things. We've actually had some listener questions come in right before we did our recording with William that we didn't get to because I simply didn't see them until it was too late. There's a couple in here that I think maybe we could take a swing at tonight. But I think we're also going to continue to get others. And the great thing about William is that despite how busy he is, I think he's absolutely willing to talk about this because he feels like anything he can do to make other people safe is a good thing to do. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've had some time to think about the conversation with him, obviously. What else came to mind since then? Anything?
I thought a lot about how I'm going to prep my daughter. I think she's starting to get to you can do subtle preps, but she doesn't understand evil, right? She's 11. And I've slowly been, injecting that into conversations, whether it's on a ride to school or in a movie where she sees something and doesn't quite understand what's going on, or, you just kind of give her a heads up, this is what this is. This is bad news. And this is why. So
right.
I've slowly been kind of engaging her a little bit more on what evil is and what it can be. And with the prominence and kids in our school with social media. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, dude. It's just not going to be for you for a while.
Yeah.
I don't care how many of your friends are on Facebook or have Instagram or Snapchat and all that crap. It's just not in the cards for you.
Right.
You've got a cell phone. You want to talk to your friends, you can text them.
Yeah.
You're welcome to do that.
Yeah.
And not to go off on a tangent, but the other cool thing about the phones and technology now is that we get a report at the end of every day of who she's called, who's texted her, who she's texted, so on and so forth. We were able to mute her phone during school hours, so it will not make a noise unless we want it to make the noise. we have a lot of control over it. And of course, with iPhones, you have Find My Friends. So I can see right down to like the, 30-yard circle where that phone is at any given moment.
Right.
I can see it moving. I can see what the battery power is, everything. So I really agree with, I think it's a great thing for them to have. Some people balk and be like, wow, she has a phone. She's 10. Like, well, she's 11 now, but she got her phone when she was 10. It's like, yeah, she does, and I just like to, I want her to be able to reach us when she needs to, and I want to be able to reach her when I need to.
Yeah.
Having sleepovers with friends. I don't necessarily always know her parents as well as I'd like to. And as I said, I've got trust issues. So
right.
I like to be able to just know that I don't need to call somebody and hope they answer. I can just call her,
Yeah. I kind of wonder, and first of all, I agree completely. I think that's a great thing. And kudos to you guys for restricting the access to social media. One of these episodes soon, I want to bring my friend on that does information security consulting, and he's had to do a lot of depositions at court cases. And he said, I've seen more things involving kids and the internet than I ever wanted to believe existed. And so, yeah, definitely, there's a lot of bad stuff out there that you want to keep them away from, and that's fantastic that you're doing that. Yeah, I wonder though how many people years ago restricted or didn't rush towards buying a cell phone for their kids just because they were so stinking expensive. And now cell phones are kind of a commodity, and that bar has been lowered. I would think that for me, as soon as my kids are mobile enough to be out from my Overwatch, I want them to have a phone so that, like you said, I know where they're at. I can keep tabs on them, and they can contact me and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Like I can't imagine with the hell that I raised when I was a teenager.
Right.
If I had a phone that I was trackable.
Oh yeah,
man, I would have been in a lot of trouble.
Right.
I would have been so much trouble. And I'm just like, this is awesome because Andy's not. My daughter's name is Andy. She's not going to get away with anything. This is fantastic. I'm going to know everything.
It's funny. Growing up, my dad he would come home and tell me things that he had found out that I had done, like just that very day, and he was at work, and I'm like, how in the world does he know this? And he used to tell me, I've got spies all over the city, and I'm convinced still that he died, and I never was able to find out before he passed away. Hey, Dad, how the heck did you pull that off? Right? But I also know that one of the most brilliant moves he ever made was my first car was bright stinking yellow, and it was distinctive, and there was no getting away with anything in that. I thought it was cool because it's bright freaking yellow. He probably thought, yeah, buddy. Yeah, you can't get away with
can't
anything in this town, right? Yeah, small town, bright yellow car, done deal. But no, I mean, the technology is there. We should use it. And I remember, hopping on my bicycle, and I guess this was in the late 70s, early 80s at least. And, we would ride 2-3 miles away from home, by the course. You go to one friend's house, you'd mess around there. Then you go to another friend's house, mess around there. Then you go to another one. And before the day was over, you'd kind of hopscotched around town, and you're 3 miles away from home. And my parents had no freaking clue where I was. They just kind of trusted that I was okay and not in any trouble. Not, as my mom used to say, that you're not dead in a ditch somewhere. And I always came home, but it would tear me apart inside to just watch my daughter hop on a bike and ride off, 3 miles away and me not know. I would jump in the car and follow her.
It's too much evil.
Yeah. I mean, and the world's changed. It really has. I think that was one of the things maybe for me that surfaced a lot over the past few days since we talked to William was just the acknowledgement that the world has changed, and it's changing every day. And it's not a safe, good place anymore. There are just so many people out there that are either messed up in the head or just evil or whatever. It's scary.
And there's also the argument, and I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but it's worth a conversation sometime, is that whether or not we are that much more of a dangerous place or we're more social, so it seems like we are more of a dangerous place.
That's a good question.
It's in our face all day.
Right.
It's in our social media. It's on the news. Our news comes to our phones. Our news goes to social media. People talk more, right? We have like you and I talk a few times a week. at the minimum.
Yeah.
And we've never actually shaken hands.
That's right. I mean? Yeah, we haven't yet.
So we have a connection with the outside world more than we've ever had, and we have less personal relationships probably more than we've ever had. But that leads me to believe that you're hearing about more things because of these connections.
Yeah, we have a wider wider sphere of exposure, I guess you could say, right? So yeah. Well, that's I don't know. I kind of want to go down that trail because I think you're right. But I also wonder how that awareness and social media and just the media in general that we're now plugged into 24 hours a day, it's just being forced into our brains. How much of it is helping bad people be better at being bad? Because I mean, it's almost like they're learning from each other's failures and getting better at it because the media just does full disclosure. Here's what the bad guy did. Here's how he did it. Here's what he used. Here's how he found his victim. Here's how he stalked him. Here's where he slipped up. Here's how he got caught, etc. And you would think that a really smart bad person could say, okay, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this differently. I'm certainly not going to, be visible, or I'm going to watch. My face isn't going to be visible on security cameras, ATMs, or whatever, right? And they're just getting better because they're learning from each other's failures, and that's scary. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, what is it? In the medical world, they talk about how bacteria becomes resistant to drugs because of exposure to those drugs. We've over medicated for antibiotics, and so bacteria is becoming stronger and more resilient. It's becoming smarter. Right. So are these people. That's kind of scary. So I think that knife cuts both ways, and that's a little frightening.
Yeah, and and then there's the other thing is like if there's a shooting, I can scroll through my news feed in Facebook, and not only is the news telling me, but everybody and their stinking brother is sharing the exact same article.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's just repetitive. It's over and it's over and it's over and it's over. But then there's the dynamic of not only are they learning, but they're also learning that they're getting notoriety for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, but they hit a 24-hour news cycle and they're gone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what, I don't focus on who they are. I really, if you gave me all their names, I probably could match 3 to which shootings they were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I pay no attention to that. I pay attention to the problems that we have. And,
right.
I think that mental health is definitely a problem. It's hard to say. I definitely think I think that's a deep conversation where you could go, and it'd be cool to find somebody that maybe could be an SME on that sort of topic.
I was just thinking that,
with some actual data.
Yeah. The question that I have for an expert on that is, how real is the influence of notoriety on these people? Because it seems like lately the ones that have been committing these crimes just want to hurt people. They want to hurt a specific person or a specific group of people. And then it seems like both of the most recent ones anticipated being killed in the process themselves, by the police or whatever, or taking their own lives. And then they wimped out and couldn't do it. But they didn't have an exit strategy that included them living and enjoying that fame. So I wonder how real is that notoriety driver, if you will, for wanting to commit these crimes? Or is it just, I want to hurt people and the most people possible? And maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's I want to hurt people, and the more media attention there is, the more people are hurt by this. Right. I don't know. Yeah. I do want to get an expert on for that. I think that would be a fantastic thing to do. Dr. William April comes to mind. I don't know if we could swing and get him on this soon as a young podcast, but I'm not above asking.
No, I'm certainly not above asking, and I have a pretty good connection through him through PTAC.
Okay.
So I'll shoot that email.
Yeah, and I'm just 2 days from now, I'm taking the hemorrhage arrest class, the Stop the Bleeding class with Dr. Sherman House. And I believe that he and Dr. William April have some association, or at least, casual awareness of each other too. And
Sure.
I'll ask. So maybe if Shooters Nation podcast comes to him two different directions, he'll be willing to come talk to us. I have a feeling that he seems like the kind of guy that would be willing to talk to us even if he didn't know us from anybody. Right. But yeah, I mean, it never hurts to ask.
Is that a Yeti cup?
You saw that on the camera. I am almost ashamed of it. Yes, audience, I am drinking from a black Yeti cup. But to redeem myself, it is laser engraved with the Shooters Nation thing on the front of it.
So that cancels out the Yeti.
It does. And what sucks about that is that I had put in the order to have that thing made the week before Yeti and the NRA squared off with each other. And when that happened, I was like, oh, crap. I can never show that. I can never show that cup in public. So it stays here, and it's my cup of shame. I drink from my big cup of Yeti shame right now.
But the other thing you should do is drink with the other hand, and that way the Shooters Nation logo hangs out rather than
That's true. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in the fact that they didn't put it there, but I guess it's because the Yeti logo is engraved on one side, and then I don't know. I've got an Arctic cup in the other room, and that one has the logo in the right place. It doesn't say Yeti on the side. I'm still conflicted. I don't know what to believe about the Yeti thing. I've seen things that look like reliable documents from Yeti that suggest that the NRA really trumped that one up.
Yeah,
that's what I'm sticking to while I drink out my Yeti cup of shame. Delicious caffeinated shame right here.
So yeah, I mean, getting back to the talking points here, I think there's some of the big points, big questions I had regarding schools, regarding my thoughts for the week on it, and the one that most intriguing to me is it appropriate for me to ask about the security policy?
Yeah, I think that's a great one.
Because my daughter goes to a new school next year, new town, new school, middle school. So it's a 6th through 8th. It's the school she's in now is a little bit more off the beaten path. The school is about a quarter mile away from the biggest highway that goes through the state of New Hampshire. So yeah, I mean, it raises some little flags for me. So I mean, those are. I feel like this is the perfect time for me to find out whether that's an appropriate thing to ask.
Yeah,
and maybe go up there and just have a conversation or an orientation with her and ask those questions this summer and see what's all.
I don't think that you would be alone in that. To be honest with you, I think that the current events. We talked to William about that also. The question was, are current events making that conversation any easier when you start talking to the school administrations about creating a security or a safety plan? But surely the current events are also making it not so abnormal for a parent to go to the school and say, hey, what about it? What are you doing to protect my kids? And if schools aren't preparing for that conversation, they're probably setting themselves up for failure.
Well, where it comes to the trust thing again, for me, is for them to say, yes, we have a great security program in place. Well, great for you and great for me are very different things.
That's true. Yeah. Tell me about your great plan.
Tell me about your plan.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's a gray area where I don't know if that's appropriate or not. Right. If they're going to be, well, no, we actually keep that close to chest for A, B, and C.
Sure.
And I guess it's probably not the worst thing to find out that way, right? Like they don't want to tell me.
Oh, but it's a leap of faith, though. I mean, I'm not sure.
Right. But are you not telling me because you don't have one? Are you not telling me because part of your plan to not tell me?
Security through obscurity. That's one of the tactics that I've heard used before is, just security through obscurity. If we don't tell you about it, we don't show it to you, you don't know what it is, therefore you don't know how to exploit it, or it doesn't exist. And I want to believe it's the former, not the latter. I don't know, man. I'm thinking that, a school really needs to, and that might be a teaching moment for the teachers. If they come back at you with that, we have an amazing plan. It's the best plan on the planet. Can't tell you about it though. I would look at them and say, okay, cool. Glad to hear it. However, you probably need to come up with some speaking points to talk to the parents about, because we want some substance. And that means you're going to have to show us a little bit, not all of it, but a little bit about what's behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can walk into a bank and I can look around and I can see security cameras. I can maybe see an armed guard. I can see bulletproof glass in some banks. That does not make them any less safe, right? The fact that I can see it doesn't diminish the effectiveness of those mechanisms. So I think schools should be a little forthcoming and expect that we're going to ask them to be so. Not asking for them to tell me the secrets. I don't want the key to the kingdom. Just tell me, show me something of substance that I can believe you.
That you're putting time into this.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
This is important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause my kid's important to me. So,
right.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying, I mean, cause God bless the teachers,
right.
They work their tails off at I think what is probably a fairly thankless job.
Yep.
And they don't get paid a lot of money. And, I really do appreciate them, and I get it, but it doesn't change the fact that I need to know that, and I think, so I guess where I was going with that is that they're clearly there because they care about the children, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's most important to them. I think they didn't do it for the money, and they didn't do it for the fame.
Right.
So they're there for a reason.
That's right.
So, I mean, I'd love to give them the benefit of the doubt, but that doesn't mean that makes their security plan good.
No. And so I have to think about this too. A school is like any other business. If you come to my company and you say, hey, we've got a secret, we're going to do this change 2 weeks from now. I can tell you and only you about this, but you can't share it with anybody. Guess what the whole company knows about by the time that week's over with, right? It's kind of like, if you want it to be a secret, you just need to say, hey, look, everybody knows about this. It's no big deal. Here's what it is. And whoever you tell it to is like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah. But if you tell them it's a secret, they're going to walk around all week long like, I've got a secret. I can't tell you. It's like a little kid. Before you know it, they're telling you. If I tell my daughter, hey, look, this is a surprise for mommy, let's not tell her about it, she'll go straight to her and say, mommy, I have a surprise, and this is what it is, but I can't tell you about it. It's like, thanks. You just totally told her everything about it. So these school systems have to assume that people are going to be people, and they're going to talk. The staff, the educators, they're going to eventually confide in somebody. And then once that horse is out of the barn, that horse is going to make all sorts of little baby horses. And now everybody knows about it. So, yeah.
That's for sure.
I just totally invented a thing about promiscuous horses getting out of barns. Maybe that'll be the title of this episode, Promiscuous Horses. That'll make people wonder. It'll probably be the most downloaded thing ever. Oh God!
No. You have to have AR-15 in there. So
okay.
Promiscuous horses with AR-15s.
With AR-15s. Yes, totally that, because black rifles matter, as do black stallions.
We'll have an episode big with more plays than Joe Rogan.
If you've gotten this far in the podcast because we promised black stallions with AR-15s, you were lied to. Oh, well, all right. So we had some folks that asked questions after that weren't related to black stallions and AR-15s. After we had William on, and like I said, they were actually asking these questions during the recording session. But there were two that stood out that I felt like we probably didn't address with William. And so, Mark, obviously what we say now are not going to be William's statements. They're just ours, and they're based on, our own opinions and understanding of things. But I thought we would go ahead and answer them, and I've jotted them down, and I'll caveat this with, one of the outcomes from that conversation last week with William was, my wife has been on me that, she really wants our daughter to have church as part of her upbringing, so that she at least has more, the fundamental morals and ethics of right versus wrong. And I completely support that, and other reasons, obvious reasons. But one of the hangups that I've had every time we've gone to church lately is, hey, last year we had a church shooting in Nashville, and I'm not real crazy about it if I can walk into this place and conceal carry my own gun and nobody thinks to even look at me as a newcomer and scrutinize what I might or might not be carrying. And I guess that's a little bit hypocritical. I want to carry my gun, but I don't want you to let other people carry theirs. That's not what I'm saying. It's just I'd like some scrutiny. I'd like for somebody to stop me and say, hey, sir, can I talk to you for a moment? happen to notice a bulge under your jacket when you bent over to tie your shoes or something, can you tell me about that? That would be nice. I would welcome that, but nobody ever freaking does. Except for now, I know that there's a church in the area where they have a good safety and security team, and as a consequence, I'll probably see William more often. But so here are the questions. And like I said, if we need to follow up, or I'll be glad to run these past William after the fact and see what he says and bring those answers back, or he'll probably come back on an episode soon. I know he's coming back on anyway to do a church security episode. We talked about that. But the first question, and this one, man, you talk about one that we could probably go off on a tangent on. What are your thoughts about the media interviewing students right after tragic events like a school shooting? Boy, do I have some thoughts on that one. What do you think? That heavy sigh tells me you got some thoughts. Yeah, you got some thoughts.
I don't think any of it's good.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get anything. I think what that is that's media trying to get the scoop, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying data first. They don't give a crap about the well-being of that kid. They don't give a crap about what's going on inside of the school unless they can get data to make them number one in ratings.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that it's for all the wrong reasons. I think that if these kids have gone through that trauma, they don't need to be speaking to somebody with a microphone in their face, but they need to be speaking to somebody that can actually help them and help them conceptualize what it is that just happened to them.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. When I read that article, my first thought was, I think the parents of these kids, especially minor children, anybody under the age of 18, they need to exercise their duty as parents, and they need to put the brakes on that whole thing, right? And I think that, like you said, these survivors just went through something extremely traumatic, and it was very stressful. And I think emotions are going to be rampant. We have to expect that, right? And I think clear thinking probably won't be rampant. So you've got very emotional responses, but not a whole lot of clear thinking. And I think that the parents need to exercise the maturity that they're supposed to as parents, and put the lid back on that pressure cooker, so to speak. Right.
Right. Well, I think that there's two types of parents out there. There's the parent that wants the fame.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The fame. I mean, I should say there's two types of parents. There's lots of types of parents out there, but there certainly is the type of parents that want. Did you see Jimmy on the news today? It was such a horrible thing that happened. You know what I mean? Like getting that angle of, I don't know if you'd call it fame, but the notoriety or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how many other kids could have been, but were reeled in by their parents.
Yeah, it could be a prideful thing. Yeah, a little bit of pride of, I guess it's really terrible. Perhaps people are going to think we're monsters for saying that. But, hey, if that's you, so sorry. But I think that there probably are parents that it's a little bit prideful to see their kid on the news, no matter what. Perhaps there's also parents, it's not much of a stretch. I think, we would agree that there are parents that see that as an opportunity for their kid to be an activist for an agenda that they support or are opposed to. We saw that after Parkland. There were a lot of kids that the parents were very anti-2A and they're anti-firearm, and they were more than happy to see, Hogg and the other boy, jump on it was Hogg and the girl, right? So there was Hogg and the girl that jumped on and, started espousing anti-Second Amendment rhetoric. And, their parents had to have been proud of them. Some of the stuff that David Hogg was saying on the news, unfiltered, uncensored, would have gotten me, the taste slapped out of my mouth, and a bar of soap shoved in there as a kid. Yeah. And, he was letting it rip. So, if his parents weren't behind that, shame on them for letting it happen. But, I don't know. I think that also this is probably why so many adults, particularly those that have gone through something traumatic or tragic or, I don't know, like a scandal, right? I mean, you see this all the time with scandals. They choose to speak through their attorney rather than be silly and step in front of a microphone and camera themselves, because they're smarter than that. They know that, it's better to put somebody in front of the camera to be a spokesperson for the family that isn't emotional and is clear-headed and knows the law enough to say, here's what you should say, here's what you shouldn't say. And so they get the company spokesperson or a lawyer to do it. And that probably frustrates the media because the media, like you said, knows that sensationalism sells. And if you're emotional or raw, the more raw and the more emotional that you are, the more sensational your statements are going to be. And so the better the ratings. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's spot on. I think it's, I don't think any good comes of it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, even as, even as a guy that's just interested in what's going on, with these shootings, I want to hear about it. But 90% of it's crap anyway, ends up being wrong.
Right.
It's like, oh, there was 2 shooters. Nope, there was only one.
Oh, there was one.
Oh, they used an AR-15. Nope, it was a shotgun. Oh, this. Nope, it was that. It's never accurate anyway.
The media doesn't care about that.
No, absolutely not. They actually thrive on that.
Yeah, they love that.
Is what's making it good.
Yeah. Well, it used to be that the media they held themselves accountable, first of all, but the people held the media accountable to get the news right. And you wanted facts. The news was factual. And if it wasn't factual and it was an opinion, then that was different. That wasn't a news story. That was an op-ed. That was an editorial. And the news has become just 90% editorial and opinion in my opinion, and not so much 10% or less fact. It seems like, and the media has no shame if they report Lil Timmy shot up a school today with a bazooka, and you find out later that what Lil Timmy actually did was took a cap gun in and scared some people. The news has no remorse for having told you the first story. They just come back later and they tell you the second one, because they'll tell you that tomorrow. And guess what? You'll tune in tomorrow to hear the revised story. So it just feeds their ratings, and they have no shame for it. The media sucks.
Yep.
So I think my statement would be, parents, please keep your kids away from that, and support them though. I mean, later after they've had some time to digest it, if they want to make a statement, support them in that, but help them make a clear, cohesive, rational statement. It doesn't have to be unemotional, for God's sake. I mean, they went through an event like a school shooting. There's going to be emotion there, but help them do something that they won't regret having done later in life, I guess, is my thing. And even if my kids wanted to stand up in front of the camera and talk about how terrible it was, and that their friends were killed in this event or something along those lines, and it turned anti-gun, at least I would felt like I had given them some time to cool down. And if that's really what they believed, and deep in their heart that's what they believed, that's what they believe. I just don't want them making a knee-jerk reaction in front of a camera and a microphone.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, to me, like, depending on the well-being of my child and how I feel that she is emotionally regarding the situation, if you want to go ahead and make a statement and be in front of a microphone a week later, that's a very different story.
It's a very different story.
The same day, you're still breathing heavy because you just ran and was frisked by the police as you exited your school.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's not okay. You should not be putting these kids in that position. Period.
Well, lawyers tell adults, this is a thing that I hear all the time, in defensive handgun classes and things like that. The advice is simply this: if it's a lawyer speaking, or if it's advice from a lawyer, it's simply, after you are involved in a defensive shooting, you should not trust yourself to make a statement to the police, right? Here's what you say: I was in fear for my life. I had to use deadly force. I'm not feeling well. I need to go to the hospital, and I need to speak with my attorney. And that point about not feeling well, need to go to the hospital, actually kind of buys you some time, because the police, technically they cannot forbid you from seeking medical attention. And that allows you some time to get the adrenaline out of your system, get your thoughts together, collect the data in your head, and be ready to make a statement through your attorney about the event. If an attorney's telling you that and that's good, solid advice to keep you out of jail. It's probably decent advice for your kid when the media wants to stick a camera in their face after a tragic event.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's my thought on that. Okay. Yeah. All right. So next one. Next question that we couldn't get to with William was, what can we as parents do to better equip our kids for modern threats that they face? That's a big one. That's going to take some time to unravel. Hey folks, David here. By now, regular listeners of the show are well acquainted with Mark and our friends over at Squared Away Customs. You already know that they are a manufacturer of high-quality custom Kydex holsters and carry gear for civilians, military, and law enforcement. But what you might not know is that Squared Away Customs is also your one-stop source for weapon-mounted lights and other firearms accessories. Mark, Corey, and the gang are now also stocking dealer for Polymer 80 frames and slides, and of course, have holsters to fit. What is Polymer 80, you ask? They are 80% complete polymer frames that you finish out with Glock pistol components. Because you're building it, there's no serial number, no FFL required, and no registration needed. It's a great way to build a custom Glock-style pistol of your own creation. Squared Away Customs offers Polymer 80 frames compatible with Glock model 17, 19, 22, 23, 26, 27, 34, and 35 Generation 3 components. They come in 2 different grip styles and include features like an extended beaver tail, double undercut trigger guard, and a thumb ledge already built in. So, if you're looking for the next level of customization and performance from the Glock platform, head over to squaredawaycustoms.com and check out their Polymer 80 accessories and, of course, their Squared Away Customs Polymer 80 custom holsters today. What can we as parents do to better equip our kids for modern threats that they face? That's a big one. That's going to take some time to unravel. Okay. I got some thoughts. I don't know. What do you think? What can we do as parents to better equip our kids for the modern threats that they face?
So I parent somewhat differently than some friends and even some families.
Okay.
And I am very much a proponent of, my daughter is now 11 years old, and this is somewhat new. I think we probably rolled into this cusp around 10, but I am going to be brutally honest with her because I expect nothing but that from her.
Right on.
And there is uncomfortable conversations.
Yep.
There are questions that I don't expect, but when she's curious, she asks me.
Yeah.
Or my wife. You know what I mean? Like rather than going to the internet or going to her friend's social circle and so on and so forth, she asks them, and you know what? I can handle some uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm the adult here, and I'm very capable of dealing with that.
Yeah.
And there are times that I feel the need to be honest and upfront with her and tell her things that I don't necessarily want to, but at the same time, I'm not sure that it's causing any harm either.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think it would cause harm if you didn't do that.
Well, right. Because I don't want her ever find out that I was dishonest with her, because that breaks the whole idea. Right. And what I've always preached to her is like, dude, you do whatever you do, right? Just be honest with me.
Right.
You know, like that's all I ask. Like I get that you're probably gonna have a hair across your butt just like your dad did. I get it. I just want you to know that, you know, I'm gonna handle things a little bit different than my parents did.
Yeah. Yeah.
In doing that, it's just like you're drunk at a party, you call me and I will come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, chew your ass is not, I'm not, you know, that's not going to be me. And, I'm not going to be yelling at you, but if you need a ride home safe, I will be happy to come get you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you are somewhere you're not supposed to be. Maybe it's not a drinking situation, but I will come get you no matter what. I will always be here to help. And I'm not going to be here to bust your butt, but I just want you to be honest with me.
Yeah. Never. I'm not going to punish you for making a good decision.
Nope.
In a bad instance.
Nope. So, so where that leads to this in the conversation is I am just some of the audiobooks I listen to.
Yeah.
I will play intentionally when she's in the truck and we're like on our way to school.
Subtle. I
She'll
like
ask
it.
questions about it. She'll ask questions about it, and it starts a conversation.
That's awesome.
But when I come at her and I'm like, what do you think about this idea? Or what do you think if this was to happen? Right.
Yeah.
Versus I play an audible, I play a book, and she's like, so, tell me about why did this man do this? I'm trying to think of the last instance. I think it may have been last instance she called me out. Oh, no. I think it was a Jocko podcast, actually.
Very cool.
On the way to school. And she's like, and it was one of the ones where he's interviews an old, war hero.
Right.
And she's like, that must have been horrible. And I'm just like, oh, you were listening, dude? You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of like,
I am surprised that you were listening to that. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, right. I'm surprised you could even hear it. No. But it sparks a conversation, and it lets her know. She's like, but why would people be like that?
Yeah.
And then it gets me into the conversation, and we have an open dialogue about it, which she started.
Right.
And I think that I understand that many people probably disagree with my methods. And
no, I think that's brilliant. Spot on.
Many people probably disagree with the whole honesty thing, like brutally honest with my 11-year-old. But it's what's going on with me. And I really hope, this is my first kid. She was my first kid. I've got obviously a boy too, but he's creeping up on 4 months here. So I've got to wait. So I have to worry about that. But she's a good kid. She's never malicious. She's never angry. She never goes out of her way to do wrong and do bad. And she's good. So
yeah,
I hope that my plan works.
Yeah. I think that's solid. I really do.
That's kind of how I handle these types of situations. Is I will just hit the nail on the head, or I will put something in front of her that makes her inquire about evil, makes her inquire about how things can go wrong, makes her inquire about how, the way of the world.
Yeah.
Because if she's not asking the question, and that's a problem, right?
That's right. Yeah. She's not thinking about it.
She's thinking about it, and she's trying to work through it. And then she asked me, I love that, because she cares enough about humanity.
Right.
To want to know why somebody would act this way, treat another this way, do this sort of cruelty, so on and so forth.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. I love the innocence of a kid that would ask, why do people treat each other that way? Because that's so foreign to them. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a sad thing that, we eventually lose that as we see how people are with each other. No, I think that's awesome, man. Because when I was reading this question from one of the listeners, and I was kind of jotting down some of my notes on paper, one of the comments I made, and I underlined it, was be real with them. And that's exactly what you're saying. And I think that, with the younger kids, use your tactic, perhaps, let them, not perhaps, but, definitely use that tactic. Perhaps just let them ask the questions on their own. But just be as real with them as is reasonable. I guess, their age and their understanding of things will dictate some of that. But yeah, just be real with them. And I'll have to give credit where credit is due. My two oldest, are now in their 20s, and, their mom and I, divorced. So unfortunately, not proud of that, but, unfortunately those two, were the product of a split household, but I think they turned out really, really well. And I'm proud of both of them, infinitely proud of both of them. But one of the things that their mom said, and I'll go ahead and say something positive about the ex-wife, because I don't think she listens to the show. I'm just kidding. I would say this to her face, is that she told me early on, we don't talk to them like they're kids. We talk to them like we're adults, that they're adults. And that, she's talking about her and her husband. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. You're not dumbing it down. You're not candy coating it. If they ask you a question, you give them the straight truth. And I think there's a lot of power in that. I think that we as parents kind of diminish what our kids are capable of understanding, perhaps because we will ourselves to think they're too innocent to understand this terrible concept about humanity that I'm about to tell them. And yeah, I think that if a kid is old enough to go to school, they're probably old enough to know that there's bad people in the world that will hurt them. And frankly, I think that if we're already teaching kids not to talk to strangers, guess what? We've started teaching them that there are bad people in the world. So it's not that big of a stretch, right?
No. That was another huge one.
Yeah.
It's like, how long have we been teaching fire drills?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When was the last school fire?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Forever. Schools teach that from kindergarten on.
Still.
Yeah.
And when was the last school fire?
Right.
When was the last school shooting?
Right. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. Compare those two. Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
That was like, wow. I never ever thought of that. When he mentioned that, I was just like, wow, that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
1957 since the last catastrophic school fire.
Is that when it was?
I think that's what he said.
Huh. No, I mean, you're right. We grew up not only doing school fire things, but tornadoes were a big issue in the part of the country. Actually, they still are where I'm at now. But the part of the country where I'm from, we had tornadoes. It seemed like every spring, every summer, and so we would have tornado drills, and we'd all learn to quickly, orderly file out into the hallway, and you kneel down on the floor, and you put your, you kind of tuck your head between your knees and you cover the back of your neck and the hand with your head with your hands. And that was a tornado drill. And if we understood what they were saying, and if we as kids had understood the full magnitude of what a tornado could do, it probably would have been terrifying. But they didn't do that. They kind of treated it like this is going to be a little bit of a game. This is a challenge. How quickly can you get out here and do this? And I think maybe with the really young kids, you make a game of, I don't know. So I think maybe I'm trying to think who it was. There's somebody that's real big into the self defense and firearms community that I've heard interviewed. So this is not my thing. This is somebody else's. But they said they make a game of identifying exits and exit routes for places that they frequent. And so they do that with their kids. So even if it's a place they've never been before, if they walk into a new shopping mall or whatever, it's like, okay, kids, what entrance did we come in? Oh, well, we came in through the Sears. I don't even know if Sears is still in business. That's how old I am. Okay, so we came in through Sears. Okay, cool. So let's walk through here and shout it out or speak out whenever you see an emergency exit. And then they walk through the mall and say, oh, there's an exit over there. Oh, there's an exit over there. Very good. All right, so that we came in through Sears and you know where the exits are. You think anything bad happens, what are we going to do? Where are we going to meet up? We're going to meet up at the car. Where's the car? It's Sears. Okay. And great. And so they've got a plan. They've just taken small kids and turned it into a game. And now they've got a strategy for if something bad happens, here are the exits. And if we get split up, where are we going to meet? We're going to meet back at the car. And that's probably more of a plan than a lot of adults have. And they just turned it into a game. I thought that was just fascinating. I was thinking about that. Man, kids have been playing hide and seek and tag forever. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about an active shooter event, what is it? It's hide and seek and it's run. And, you're listening and you're watching for the bad guy. You're hiding. You're staying really quiet. Be really quiet. And then when the bad guy goes off to another area, you run or you hold up, whatever it is that they're teaching you. But it's like hide and seek, so it's not impossible to teach kids these things. You just have to kind of, your audience and you talk to them in terms that they can identify with, I guess. I don't know. My two youngest are way too young to be in school now, but you would know. Is it still the thing where parents are getting their kids fingerprinted and stuff like that, just in case of kidnappings and what have you?
Andy's never been fingerprinted.
Okay. All right.
So I'm not. Because I clearly remember the police departments coming to my school, and fingerprinting us.
Yeah, we're not too far apart in age. I mean, I remember because I think that all kind of came about after the Adam Walsh thing, which was terrible, right? But if you go to stores now, you see like some stores will have Code Adam stickers on the door, and that's it's named after Adam Walsh, and he was abducted. His dad, went on to be a very big spokesperson about child safety and child abduction and how to secure your kids and stuff. And the terrible story about that was, there was no way to identify him without fingerprints. And so that's why it became a big thing of fingerprint your kids. Yeah.
Well, maybe now fingerprints don't matter because of DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be that. And that's another thing too, I guess, is, what are we doing as parents? I saw something that said, keep current photos of your kids available. And that's probably easier than ever because everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody's on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever else. You've probably got a bazillion photos of your kid on your phone. You ought to back those up occasionally so that if they ever do go missing, or if they're in an event like that, like a tragic shooting event or a tornado strikes a school or something else like that, you can provide a picture of your kid to the police. Say, this is my kid. They look like this. If you find them, bring them to me, right? And yeah, I don't know. Do you teach your daughter about strangers? How to handle strangers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really. And she's very much not a stranger person.
Cool.
At all.
Yeah. Stranger danger and all that stuff.
So funny story. My niece is 5, 6.
Okay.
5. She's 5. She's in kindergarten. So I think it was like last summer we had her for the weekend and we went to take her to an ice cream place and we were standing in line and she was just kind of standing and being patient in front of us. And we turned and we're used to the way Andy would just kind of sit idly by and we would wait our turn. And we turn around and Piper's gone. And I'm like that happened in an instant.
Right. Yeah.
Instant. And we look and she had only skipped ahead of us, one in line. And she was talking to the 2 people in front of us. Had twin like probably a year and a half because they were standing.
Yeah.
And I was like, Piper. And then I walk up there and she's like, can I pet your babies? Like she was talking to the adults. I'm like, this kid is stranger danger.
Right.
Yeah. Around in line and
got to work on that.
Asking people to pet their children. Yeah.
At least it's not as bad if a 30-year-old asks you if they could pet your children, then that's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. We'll see if I get any blowback on this because I know her father listens to the podcast.
Right.
So.
Hey,
Piper got a shout out.
Yeah. I mean, Piper's not alone. We're working through it with my daughter and she's got it now. I believe she's starting to get it, but until she did, man, she'd never met a stranger. She would just, walk up and, hi, my name's, and, just tell them her name, tell her how old she was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going, whoa, time out, kid. You have to tell them your life history. But yeah, I think, I would say for the younger kids, definitely teach them it's okay to be impolite to strangers. And I'm thinking about that in particular, William's comment, he tries to approach it holistically, and it's about safety and not just security. And so there's all these different threads. It's not always gonna be an active shooter. It could be something else. For adults with small kids, I was doing some research the other day, and you can get these GPS tracker watches and bracelets and stuff that look like you can get them that are all covered with daisies and look girly and stuff. And you get some that's kind of manly for little boys. It looks like a wristwatch or a bracelet, and it's a GPS tracker. If they're too young to have a cell phone, you can still get down to within 30 yards of them or something like that, or 30 feet, whatever the radius is, with a GPS tracker.
Just glue a tile to their back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Like the ones that you get for your dog, the Find My Dog tiles or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, the technology, you ought to use it.
Chip my child. Yeah.
Chip my child. Take them to the vet. Hey, while you're tagging my, chipping my dog, could you, just right here. Yeah. Yeah. You get a sucker after it's over with. That's terrible. Now I'm going to be investigated for even saying that. It was a joke. Golly, I guess with older kids, man. So your daughter is kind of in that, and she's what is it technically it's a tween, right? So she's almost a teenager, but first aid training. Yeah, Jason Demo did that thing with his daughter, and she was like, what, 8 or something, and did the tourniquet training with her. So
I'm going to be the first person to own up and admit that I am not one to give her any training until I get some more myself.
Okay, that's awesome, commendable.
My medical is very minimal, and it's a major goal for this summer. Last year I shot a lot.
Yeah.
This summer I need to get some medical stuff under my belt.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. I mean, would you think about taking her to the training class with you, or do you think she's too young for that?
No, I absolutely would do it. Okay,
cool.
And she would actually really dig that sort of thing because she's a very caring person.
Yeah. That's awesome. Does she like icky stuff? I mean, like is fake blood and all that stuff. Is that gonna be fun?
I don't think it bothers her, but if it's her blood, watch out.
Okay,
it's the end of the world.
Yeah. No, it's cool. My second oldest is in nursing school, and the stuff that she talks about now, I'm just kind of like, yeah, you don't talk about that at dinner. Please don't describe that thing. And my wife, being a nurse, thinks it's hysterical. Yeah, it's like, okay, we're gonna find Dad's gag reflex if you keep talking about this disgusting stuff at dinner. But yeah, she thinks the grosser the better, which more power to her. What about practical self-defense training? My wife found, believe it or not, jiu-jitsu for kids. And I'm talking like the age of that was like 4 years old, which is awesome.
We have it here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Jocko podcast.
Yeah.
He mentioned that book.
Heard
about his book that he just wrote?
Well, he's got two for kids, right? The Way of the Warrior Kid or something like that. And then there's another one. Kid.
Yeah. So Andy just had a 5K that was about 2 hours away. Last
she
Saturday.
ran a 5K.
Yep.
That makes me tired thinking about it. Awesome.
Yeah. And on the way there, I was telling her about the book, and she's like, "Well, do you have it?" I was like, "Well, no, it's kind of a kid's book, not." I said, "But if you're interested, I'd be happy to get it." She's like, "Yeah, absolutely." Yeah. So I got it right there, and we listened to it all the way to the 5K.
That's awesome.
And one of the things in the book was talking about, getting into some sort of a martial art of some sort, whether it be jiu-jitsu or karate or something like that. And how it's really great for, self-esteem and so on and so forth. And she was just kind of like, meh. Like, she just didn't really do it. It's just not really her thing. She's a super bright kid. She's very, very into like arts, crafts, music.
Yeah.
Not so much into sports.
Okay.
We've tried every sport. She's happy to do them. She does them for a season, and that's just the end of it.
Yeah, that's cool. I can relate to that. Yeah, that's cool. I get it. Well, so it seems like the local Krav Maga gym or studio or whatever you call those, they offer like a kids jiu-jitsu, and they also offer a kids Krav Maga, which I think was pretty neat. I was thinking, specifically, I guess kind of like the Jocko podcast, and their recommendations. I would look for something practical for my kids. Karate used to be the thing, man, and so did Taekwondo and stuff. And then it got to be like really more about the competition and the the katas and the forms and all that stuff. From what I saw of kids that I knew that went to karate, and I'll never forget. I had a friend in middle school that was he was in karate for a number of years, and that was like, everybody knew he was in karate, and he got picked on by another kid that was probably a little bit more street savvy, and the street savvy kid just whipped him up one side and down the other because he wasn't playing by rules. Karate is about forms and rules, and you're squaring off against an opponent that knows the same forms and rules that you do, et cetera, et cetera. And this guy was like fighting dirty, which is more like Krav Maga or jiu-jitsu or something. So I don't know. I think that I personally would probably look for something that was very practical, and even if it didn't give belts or something, if it just prepared my kids to handle themselves, I would be good with that.
So what I told Andy was, I was interested in her getting involved in something like that, and I wasn't sure if she was. And she said probably not. But what I was preaching to her is that I did it from the age of 9 up until I was 16.
Yeah.
And I did karate for quite a few years. And I really enjoyed it. And then I got a driver's license, and it was just like, I don't have time for this.
The road and girls await, right? Yeah, I'm in a car. But
the funny thing is like even 15 years later, horsing around with my buddies, you know what I mean? Like some of like the blocks and the techniques
comes back,
are like it's it's instinctual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's really interesting to see me react that way, even 15 years later. Like, wow, like that's pretty cool that snap back in. And honestly, now that I'm 38 and the dad bod's working in full effect, like I'm thinking that I'm really, rather than going to do a gym membership, I'm thinking of getting back into either it seems right to go karate because I had so many years in it and I know I would bounce back into it really quick.
Yep.
But there's something about jiu-jitsu that just sounds like way more fun. And it also sounds way more like just exhausting. You know what I mean? Which is what I need.
Yeah. The exercise. I did a probably 3-month stint of doing Krav Maga the year before last. And it was really good exercise. I mean, I would show up there after work. I would change into gym clothes before I left work. I'd show up there. We would do an hour to hour and a half of class. And when I went back to my truck to get into it, I had to throw a beach towel on the seat. Otherwise I was going to just soak it with, sweat and stuff. Cause I mean, you come out of there having a good workout and I guess kind of like you, it's like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to go to a gym. I'd rather do something that's practical and effective and that I enjoy. And it doesn't seem like I'm exercising. Yeah. And I think that. And
you're getting something more out of it than just getting into fit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anybody can go to the gym and lift weights and walk on a treadmill and stuff like that. And sure, that puts you in a better physical state, but how much does that prepare you to defend yourself? And, or you could go to do something like this, get a good workout and, have a skill from it and some confidence from it, which I think is awesome. My wife has said that she'd like to do it at some point, and I'd love to get my older kids involved in it, especially my daughter as she starts, looking at going into the workforce and working she'll be in a clinical setting, like in a hospital or something where there's no possible hope really of hiding a gun or a knife or anything like that in scrubs. Then she's going to need to know how to defend herself. So, yeah. Let's see. The other thing I had jotted down was older kids. You probably, I think you could still keep doing the game of exit routes, strategies like that. Just you walk in a mall. Hey, where was the exit? Where do we park? Where are we at? That kind of stuff. But I think you could also be a lot more blunt about game planning their tactics for dealing with safety events at school or home or work or church or whatever. You can have a lot more frank conversations with a teenager, especially these days. Guy comes in with a gun, you're at the shopping mall in the food court. What are you going to do? Right. Mm-hmm. And back to the very start of our conversation, get them a cell phone for God's sake. If they don't have one, get them one. I think that's kind of a no-brainer for me. Is that's a tool that they can use to get help or be in touch with me or vice versa. Let's see. One other thing that I jotted down was that we need to teach our kids that the police are there to help. And I remember why I jotted it down was because I was watching something on the news where the story was a lot of kids, especially inner city kids, are brought up to not trust the police. And I thought, man, that is so unfortunate. First of all, yes, it's we need to acknowledge that there are police out there that, just because you're wearing a badge doesn't mean you're always a good guy or a good woman. And so there are cops that abuse their authority and that has to be acknowledged. But I think the majority of them are not that, and they're good people. And who else do you go to in a problem except for the good guy with the gun that's wearing a badge, right? And so I would hope that people will teach their kids to, look at the police as somebody that can help you and not somebody that's going to just cuff you and stuff you in the back of a car and haul you off to jail. I mean, if you're doing something wrong, of course they're going to do that. But still, I think even if I had a gallon bag of marijuana on my person and, somebody was shooting at me, I would probably, and there was a cop there, I would probably go to the cop, What's worse? Weigh the options. I get caught with marijuana, or I get caught with a bullet in the head. So
our dynamic's a little bit different because frequently, I have law enforcement friends.
Yeah.
Lots of, because I'm in the business, right?
Yep.
So I make holsters for a lot of the state police in the area, a few town police guys in the area. And like some of them, like Andy walked into the shop one day, and we'll just call him, his last name is Smith. We'll just say it was Smith. And she's like, "What's up, Detective Smith?" You know what I mean? Like, gives him a fist bump, and then and goes to my desk to do her homework.
That's cool.
Up, So yeah, like she's totally cool with them. She totally digs them. She totally respects them, appreciates them.
Yeah.
Same with Barry and veterans too. She's the same way. I've really tried to push that. That's an important trait to have, and you really need to have respect for these kinds of people, among others. You know what I mean? And she does good with it. And her school actually does really good with that kind of stuff. Like every year, I think, Veterans Day.
Yeah.
They all write letters. And do a drawing and send them off, and they still do the pledge in the morning. And so her school actually does a pretty good job at that.
That's cool.
I'm curious to learn what happens next year in middle school, but we shall see.
Yeah. I mean, and that's probably the way it is around here too. I would say that the majority of the schools around here, the school resource officers are viewed as friends. They're authority figures that the students look forward to seeing, et cetera, et cetera. I will acknowledge that there are definitely inner city schools where the students have a different perception of the police. They've seen friends hauled off by the cops. They've seen family members hauled off by the cops. They've seen cops standing around crime scenes of family members and friends that have been injured or worse. So I'm sure that there's some distrust there. I just think that parents can really control that narrative, and if you want your kids to have somebody safe to go to, the police are there, and I don't know. I'm talking about that as a middle-aged white guy that's never been arrested for a crime. So I guess I have a different perspective of it than somebody that's not had that experience. But it's a shame if you're setting your kids up to hate and distrust the police, when in a school shooting or something bad like that, those police are going to be the ones that are standing between your kid and the bad guy. So, yeah. Okay. When we had the interview with William, after we got done with that session, I remember it was really close to 10 p.m. Central, 11 o'clock your time. And William had driven in from his house to his office. I don't know how far that was, but he'd driven in because they were having some phone or internet connectivity issues, at his residence, and he wanted to make sure that he was on a stable, reliable connection with us. And when we finally told our listeners goodbye for the episode, at the end of it, we stopped our thing. And like normal, I'll just let the recorder run for a few more minutes so that I make sure that I don't cut it off too soon. There might be some new salient point that comes up. They're like, "Oh, hey, wait, I wish we'd done this." And then that way I've captured it, right? We can always stitch it back into the episode. But the thing that I was listening to the other day when I was editing the episode was he was like, kind of like, wow, man, it didn't feel like 2 hours. That passed by really quick. And we tell people that all the time. I tell people that when I'm talking to potential guests and they're terrified of how can I possibly talk for an hour about this? It's like, no, you have no idea. An hour is going to be gone in the blink of an eye. We don't do short episodes, and we never notice it. But I'm looking at the clock, and we're already an hour and 20 minutes ish into this conversation now, and we didn't even take a break. So I guess I'll have to go back and put a break in there somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm learning it on the other side too, because now I'm kind of hooked on the Jocko and I'm hooked on the Rogan podcasts.
Yeah.
I've been listening to them a lot, and like neither one of them have a podcast under 3 hours.
No, they don't.
Long. And like I'm listening and I can't get enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, keep it going. If the conversation is good, I'll sit there all day and listen to it.
Oh,
I have an earbud in my ear, and I'm just going to town, doing my thing, listening to the podcast. You know what I mean? And like I if the content's good, I'll listen all day. So on the creative side of it, Like,
Yeah.
I have no problem making 3-hour episodes because I feel like most people are the same way.
Oh no, I'm with you totally, and I know that one of the things I thought about after the fact when we had Dennis interview us a couple episodes ago for our 10th episode, is kind of like what are things that surprise you now or that you wish you'd known then that you know now. That was one of the themes, and I really think that I wish that I had known earlier that it was okay to let the clock run out and start talking. And even with William the other day, I said, okay, we're in overtime now. We're past the 2-hour point nearly on the recorder. And so it didn't work that way in the episode, but we were in that overtime segment, and man, we were still going. I think we could have talked to him for, a while. And that
had another hour's worth of questions in the hopper.
Yeah. And I think he would have done it too, which is why I really wanted to be respectful of him and let him go, especially knowing that he'd driven in and knowing that it was late at night. And where the church is really out in the country. So I don't know, where he lives in proximity to that. But at that late at night, you got to deal with deer and stuff like that. And so I'm starting to think all the things, okay, we got to get him out of here so he can get home and he's not tired and, he's safe on the road, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm looking at the recorder now and thinking, man, we just blasted through an hour and a half and we didn't even get to what we were really going to talk about tonight. So it sounds like we're going to do another episode perhaps. And that's cool because I'm about to do some traveling, and that's a great segue into maybe what's going to be our next episode is talking about, travel, especially if you're armed. I think I even said that at the front of this episode, didn't I?
I don't think you did, actually.
Did I not? Maybe I thought it. Maybe I thought it really loud. If I thought it really loud, it made it onto tape.
I do have one more quick thing to mention.
Hit it. Yeah. I mean,
timeline of episodes is I feel like these aren't conversations with, a person regarding their life. These aren't conversations with a person regarding a product they designed. These are real life conversations that we are having to try and mold, sculpt, open your mind to how to be safer in life.
Yes, and definitely.
If we touch on some of this stuff that is very serious and we blast through it in 30 minutes, we're doing you a disservice.
I agree with that. I told my wife after the episode with William, after we shut it all down, I turned the lights off in the studio and we'd already said goodnight to each other. And I was like, I stood up, stretched my legs, and I thought, wow, okay, I'm going to be awake for a while because my mind was still running, and I walked into the rest of the house and found my wife, and I'm like, that was really cool. And she said, you were in there for a while. And I said, yeah, but it was really cool. And that's all I could get out of my mouth it was like, that was really cool. It's like I had gone stupid and the only words I could get out were, it's really cool. So, we started listening to it a little bit inside the house just so I could get some feedback on what do you think? Do I need to make any tweaks to the audio or anything else like that? And the entire time I'm looking over there nodding like, it's really cool, wasn't it? It's really cool. Tell me it was really cool. She's like, yeah, it's actually really good. It's really cool. But we packed that thing full of information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't know that I've had it. Well, tonight was kind of the same way, really. Frankly, it's just, I think that when we get really jazzed up about something and we have a guest that's really jazzed up about something, it's easy to kill 2 hours. And I don't think anything of it anymore. So it's a good conversation. And you're absolutely right. We want to get good information out to our listeners. And that's what I tell people whenever I'm talking about, to these prospective guests. If I feel like I'm trying to get them to understand and get some buy-in and they want to come on the show and talk to us, it's like, look, I have a passion. Mark has a passion for getting good information to good people so that they're safer and better equipped for today's society. And, when I tell them that, they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm down for that. Let's do it. And then they come on and do 2 hours with us. And it blows their minds that we did it for 2 hours. So,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's not always giving the information, but it's being the catalyst to get their mind moving.
Right.
Right. So just something to get the wheels rolling, get the wheels in motion. And, that conversation with William was very much getting my wheels in motion regarding the school security and the security of my child. Like, and not that I hadn't thought about it before, but it was kind of opened my eyes to a different dynamic of it, which is, I think, what this is all about.
You said something at the start of this episode that I want to remind the listeners of right now. You said, we wanted to equip people with some, like you said, like almost like a catalyst. Let's get your mind working on the situation and on the real root problems here, and let's change the narrative away from the tool, because as we discussed with William, you can use anything as a tool to do harm, and get it on intent and deal with that. Let's figure out how we can deal with the people that are messed up emotionally and mentally that had that intent to do harm. And then let's also figure out how we can make our schools safer for our kids and the staff and the faculty and the educators, right? So if we can do those two things at all in any shape, fashion, or form with the podcast, then I'm a happy man. I think that if we can just do that one thing, all the episodes that we've done up to this point have been worth it. And I hope that it does. I hope it inspires people to think, and I hope that we equip them with something they can go talk to their neighbors and to the other teachers and the students and the faculty and their government representatives about, and say, hey, look, this is the world we live in. We can't put our heads in the sand anymore. Let's figure out how to address the problems in a productive way. And somebody asked me the other day if we could wave a magic wand and make all the evil in the world go away, would you give up your guns? And my knee-jerk reaction was no. And then I said, okay, hang on. Let me think about this for a second. So all evil goes away. Nobody else has any guns. I don't have to have one for self-defense anymore. Would I give it up? And I said, yes. Nobody else has guns either, right? Right. So I don't have to worry about that, right? My answer is still no. And they looked at me like, you're hopeless, and I said, no. I mean, but listen, right? I mean, because you've done away with one thing. You've done away with guns, but the 80-year-old grandmother that's at home by herself, she's a widow, and a young 20-year-old, 300-pound muscled dude breaks in the door to rob her. She needs a gun. She needs something that is an equalizer against him, whether it's a gun or something. And a gun's a very effective equalizer. And besides that, I just freaking like shooting. So no, I'm not gonna give up my guns. Yeah, I'm hopeless. Yeah, that's all right. If I weren't hopeless, I wouldn't be doing a podcast that was called Shooters Nation. It would be called, I don't know, Wiffle Ball Bat Nation or something, Slingshot Nation.
It's like, I don't have golf clubs. I have a gun safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, a spare half hour, I'm running to the range.
Right.
Like
I'm with you, man. I think, I have to give mad props, high five to the guys that had the podcast, We Like Shooting. What a brilliant name for a podcast, because I like shooting too. It's just what I like to do. It's fun. Even if it had nothing to do with self-defense, I would still do it. And, it's a blast. It's a way for me to challenge myself, and it's something I can watch and see instantaneous feedback of, am I doing better than I was last time? So yeah, it's cool. I like it. So, and it keeps the King of England out of my face. So there you go. We're back to the colonies. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've come full circle at that point. We're back to where we started with the colonies and the King of England. So perhaps that's it. If we invoke the Nazis in this, then we've completely checked every checkbox that the internet has for us for any kind of conversation. So I think we can mention the Nazis right now, and now we've satisfied it, and we could probably end the episode.
Man, the Nazis! I've gone down a rabbit hole in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Illinois
totally
Nazis, man. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Totally off topic for this podcast, but man, oh man, the rabbit hole of where Hitler.
Oh yeah, you've been doing it, right? You've been doing the hunting Hitler thing because of Tim Kennedy. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I'm listening to podcasts about it. I'm listening to some books about it.
Yeah.
YouTube stuff, but the hunting Hitler program on history was good. Yep. Of course, it was on demand, so I binged the heck out of it.
Right.
And what a rabbit hole! And it blows my mind because there is some like really evidence.
There is. It's crazy. I've been reading. I haven't started watching the stuff yet, but I've been reading, and it's crazy the amount of evidence there is out there about the Nazi regime and South America. And yeah. Hey, you know what? Rabbit holes have intersections because that bright yellow car that my dad said he could find me in was a Volkswagen, and that was Hitler's Hitler's baby. So, oh man, this is serendipitous in a really weird way. So I don't know. Should we stop there? Do we stop there and then get on to the next episode and record that one while we're still awake and alert?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Folks, thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you had fun, and more importantly, we hope that we've answered some of the questions that you all had on the heels of our interview previously with William on school security and how to make our kids and our staff and our faculty and such safe at our schools. If you haven't listened to that one yet, because oh my God, it's 2 hours long, go back to it, please. You owe it to yourself. Your phone, your computer. Whatever you're listening to probably has a pause button. I know it's long, but I promise you it is packed back to back, minute by minute with really good information. William shared a lot of experience-driven, experience-derived facts that you can use to help have good conversations with the school systems in your area, and also just things that if you are an educator or a staff member at a school that you can use to start making your facility safer. I would encourage you, I would beg you, please go back and listen to it. It's 2 hours long, but it is totally worth it. Thank you for joining us tonight for the next episode that Mark and I are just about to record. Very timely conversation. We're going to talk about traveling with firearms, especially important as we start moving into the summer holiday season. And folks are taking a vacation, much like myself, coming up. So that'll be fun. Mark, I think everybody knows, but where can folks connect with you after the show?
I have been getting progressively more emails.
Good. Are they nice emails at least? Or
yeah, no,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool. Yeah,
everybody, and I love the fact that people you guys are mentioning in the order forms and the special instructions that keep up the good work. It's on the Shooters Nation and join the podcast. So that's always good to see. And we're getting emails in the info at squaredawaycustoms.com, which is the best way to reach me. And we're busy beavers, and I don't live at a computer screen for Squared Away Customs. So
yep.
I appreciate your patience because sometimes I'm a 24 to 36 hour reply on most emails sometimes. So I absolutely appreciate your patience on that, but that's a great way to reach me. And then of course, squaredawaycustoms.com and coupon code Shooters Nation. It's always good for any listeners to get a little discount on your gear.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to remind people, they'll probably have heard the intermission by now, but just a reminder that Squared Away Customs is now a stocking dealer for Polymer 80 Glock frames and slides, and also have a line of holsters that are custom molded for your Polymer 80 platform gun. And you might not realize until you hold it in your hands and compare it to a normal Glock that it is a hair bit different. So having that custom holster manufactured for your Polymer 80 is a key to you being able to carry it. And a little bit of cough there, so I had to mute that. Hopefully I didn't unmute too fast. Special thanks to our Patreon members who are directly supporting my need for allergy medications during the season, but also supporting the show and making future episodes possible. If you want to support the show, you don't have to, but we absolutely appreciate it. You help keep the lights on. You can do that by visiting shootersnation.com/donate. As Mark mentioned just a moment ago, we really love hearing from you guys. If you email Mark at Squared Away Customs, that's fantastic. You can also contact the show, and I try to share any ideas that come through with Mark. You can do that by going to shootersnation.com/idea. We have a little form that you can fill out there, and you can tell us what you'd like us to talk about on the show, any subject you want us to cover, any people you want us to interview, etc. I am admittedly behind on replying to several emails, and I apologize for that. Sometimes my day job gets in the way of me being able to do that, or I'm just too exhausted at the end of the day to get in there and respond in a timely fashion. I need to do better at that. So I will be doing some email responding to this weekend and hopefully catch up on that. Of course, you can always connect with us at shootersnation.com. Be sure to sign up for the Mail Blast mailing list while you're there. That's where we send out announcements about upcoming shows, live events, special promotions, etc. And definitely come back for the next episode where we will be talking about traveling with a firearm or without, as the case may be. So I guess that's about it. Mark, I'd say that I'd see you again next week, but we're actually going to see each other here in just a minute. And as far as the folks are concerned, they're going to hear us next week. So the magic of technology.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. All right. All right, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed the show. We hope that you come back. Really appreciate you listening. And until we talk to each other again, please be safe out there. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot.
The preceding segment was a production of the Shooters Nation podcast. Visit us online at shootersnation.com.